Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Flow of Enlightenment. We are here with GP Walsh and myself, Lisa Berry. And today we are doing something special. As you are listening, if you would love to see us and see what we're doing behind the scenes, we do welcome you to tune into the live stream. You want to pop over to Facebook and go to Enlightened World Network, and you can see us there. But today, I'm so excited, GP. I say that every time, I know. Now I'm really aware of it.
But it's true every time.
It's just I guess a permanent state for me. It is all about this is a topic that touches my heart. It's about emotional eating. And why it touches my heart so much is I am a nutritionist. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist. And what I've come to realize over the 20 whatever years I've been doing this is until someone knows their relationship with food, any issue they have, any challenge that they have, they are unable to correct it, solve it. They can have all the willpower in the world. However, it's all about self-inquiry. And so I thought, how perfect to bring you on this subject.
You corralled me into it.
Yes. Now, my very first question I want to start off with this is, okay, emotional eating. So my program is dating your diet, and it's falling in love with the right food. And a problem that people think is that they've fallen in love with a lot of foods and they're all the wrong ones. They're the bad boys. And
that's right.
So
bad boys are really, bad boys got there's a thing there.
That's their thing. And we're attracted to them and we're drawn to them, but it doesn't always mean that they're good for us, so they're serving a purpose. So my question right away with emotional eating, can you help me define, how would you define emotional eating in that sense? When people say, I'm emotionally eating, what are they doing?
Well, and by the way, on the, just to help you out here, I pulled my headset volume on Lucy all the way down, and and there's not as much echo.
Oh, lovely.
So it'll be easier. Yeah. This is the first time we've done this simulcast, folks, and we're really, we had to do prayers and offer and sacrifices to get the gods to allow this technology to work.
Yes.
Waving the chicken, dancing, you know how it is. Well, everything comes down to the relationship we establish with it. And unfortunately, we live in a culture that's more interested in selling us stuff than making us healthy. And just because you can chew it and swallow it doesn't make it food. There's a lot of completely nutritionally empty stuff. And most of the stuff is all processed foods. I haven't eaten processed foods or meat or any of that stuff in 25 years.
Wow.
And it shows. I don't look like a lot of my peers, simply because you get rid of that stuff in your diet, and it's amazing the difference that it has. And the payoff, of course, is if you do that enough to actually get the additional energy and the sense of well-being that comes from eating healthy food, it then becomes self-fulfilling, right? But in the beginning, it's not. We look to food like we look to every other distraction. When we don't know what we're missing, then we're going to look for it somewhere. We can't help it, right? When we're suffering, we have to look for this a solution to suffering. That's the whole point of it.
Yes.
Right? When I'm in pain, I seek the way to get out of pain. But with things like emotional eating or any kind of behavior that is repetitive and not progressive, not doing anything for you, it's a mask worn by a part of ourselves that we've disowned, that we don't have access to.
Ooh.
So it's emotional eating and all addictions, right? Whether that addiction be shopping or Facebook or it be something harder like alcohol or food. They all result from the fact that there's a part of you that is out of reach to you. And so we've reached for a solution to what in fact is an existential or spiritual quest in something external to ourselves. And you get a momentary hit for sure, right? You eat a thing, you get a sugar rush, you get various kinds of things happen in the body that are a moment of pleasure, but then they're always followed by the crash, which requires another moment of pleasure. And that's how the cycle gets into place. And the body actually gets to the point where it craves that hit.
Yes.
And at that point, the body now is confused as to about what is healthy food and what isn't.
Yes.
And you've trained it now to want something that isn't actually good for it. But it has created a desire for it as if it were.
Yes. GP, you've reminded me of something I always recognize. One of my very best friends, I love getting together with her, and we're having fun and it feels good. It emotionally feels good, right? Lots of oxytocin going out there. And she is an emotional eater. So she's always eating, and she eats very, very bad things. And I, on the other hand, eat extremely healthy and not a lot. But when I go to visit her, I'm like, "Ooh, let's enjoy some food together." And she's almost the flip. She's like, "Oh, no, I don't need to eat because you're here." So she eats when she's unhappy, and I eat when I'm more happy. There's this weird fulfilling. I love that you said that word, self-fulfilling. Like we're looking to be filled up, but
Yes.
we actually have it. But I love that you said it's something that it's out of reach, that we've blocked off, that we're not accessing, and so we've trained ourselves to look for something to get that hit.
Well, we haven't just trained ourselves. You were trained by your parents and your family and the tribe and the culture. We live in a world that is trying to gratify itself externally, which is why even spirituality has become like this thing you get, right? So now I'll have crystals or chanting mantras or doing hours of yoga, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things, but they're not the spiritual quest, because the spiritual quest has to go inward. The point is not to acquire something, some adaptive behavior that makes you feel better. The point is to find out who you are, find out that which is innate in you, which doesn't have to be acquired. Yes. That which is innate, right? Nobody had to teach you how to blink.
or swallow the food.
Or swallow or digest the food.
Or digest. Right? When you said about searching, what's so interesting is that there are people called food scientists. And those people have gone on a quest to find out who we are. You know what I mean? Like their job, they gather information, but they're there to figure out what is it that they're doing our job almost for us, but then they're using chemicals and they're literally treating foods so that it's more attractive to us. It's more appealing to us. It is the color that we want. They even take meat, and if they've done a poll and have asked people, what would you improve a thing? Oh, I wish this meat was white meat was even whiter. So now they're adding colors to the meat. They're changing so many things. And then they're also knowing what chemicals are giving us pleasure. That lost.
This is a diabolical use of intelligence. This is the worst use of human intelligence. We find out what the body needs, and then instead of giving it what it needs, we create a cheap substitute that's nutritionally empty, that tricks the body into thinking it's getting food. You can only get it from them, and so basically they're creating addictions, and that's exactly what they want. Fast food has no flavor. All of the flavor in McDonald's fries and hamburgers is chemical. It's added, and there's a couple of companies that's all they do.
Yes,
is make flavors, because by the time the food has been processed, it is so nutritionally empty, or it has no flavor. Yes. It doesn't even taste like food. So then they have to add it. They have to add it back in. But of course, it's just imaginary. There's no real. Our tastes are supposed to tell us what's good for us and what isn't, and this is the use of it. It's an abuse of human intelligence. And I find it absolutely reprehensible.
Yes, and one too, and I know we're talking about, you know, how to turn this around with the cause and the cure of emotional eating. One thing that really is plays a big role in my life, because I'm such a cat mom. I love I love all animals, and I have to feed. I'm the mom. I'm buying the food for the cats, and I'm always so interested in when they sniff it and what they'll, you know, I don't purchase takeout food often, but I remember this. Oh, what was it? Oh, I won't say the name of the company, but I brought a sub home at one point from an event, and oh my gosh, my little Brinksy, he smelled it and jumped back like, whoa, that's poison.
What the hell's that?
I loved his reaction, because I was like, I know, I didn't even want to eat it, but I love that you said, like, we're supposed to, our taste buds and our smells, our scent, we're supposed to recognize whether this is good or not, as opposed to letting our emotions drive us, that voidness, that looking for something. Or can we talk about chewing? Yes, before that, because we have commercials, not till 5 more minutes. But when we go on the path of finding who we are and what's going on, sometimes we need to chew stuff because we have tension, you know, anxiety, nerves, you know, is that also something that along this path, when we start to learn who we are, to know who we are, that settles down too? Are we calmer even in our like clenching of the jaw, needing to crunch on something?
Well, yeah, of course. You know, the whole self-inquiry, the spiritual path, the non-dual spiritual path, is often presented in such a way like it's this very esoteric thing, that it's out there somewhere. What it does is it brings balance to the entire system. Yes. When my sense of self has gotten closer and closer to who I really am, I see things as they really are. I recognize my body for what it is. I begin to become sensitive to what it really needs and what I thought it needed. And then trying to feed an emotional hunger, I don't use food to do that because it won't work, right? And I also become more sensitive to what is actually nutritional. You simply, the more we're in our heads and the more we're outward focused, the less we're aware of our own bodies. We're superimposing and projecting on our bodies things that aren't there, and manipulating it to bring about certain kinds of feelings, but they're only temporary. What we're seeking is the sense of well-being that can only be found through the inquiry into who am I really?
Yes.
And that means I have to let go of all the things I think I am, all of the various relationships and aspirations and all of that goes with it. It's really hard to convince people that I don't care how much you try, how much you have, how much you earn, how many successes, it will not fill up that hole. Yes. Nothing but you can fulfill the search for you.
Yes, the search. I like that, the search for you. It's interesting because you made me think about the search for somebody, like, okay, missing person alert. You know, we've got this, you know, where's GP, where's Lisa, you know, missing person alert thing. And I was thinking about identity. And so interesting. I remember when my mother, who we always had a cup of tea together. It was just a total thing for everything. I mean, oh, well, I'll put the kettle on. Let's have a cup of tea. It was so exciting to say it. Like, it's, yes. And so I remember when she's passed now, but she was told she couldn't have tea. And I just thought, oh my God, I would die. I would die. And who is she? What am I going to do when I visit? We're not going to have a cup of tea. And it was, this identity was so tight. I felt like I just lost a best friend, you know, because it's also an act. It's ceremonious, like, to do this thing together. And as we go along that path of self-inquiry, we actually can also detach from what we believe our actions must be to be who we are, to have the relationship.
Yeah, and also you gain the inner power and authority to allow yourself to transition from certain behaviors to others, because you know our nervous system gets used to doing certain behaviors, right? Now, if I'm identified with that, trying to change a behavior becomes almost impossible, because it's like I can't give that up, right?
Yes.
But if you know who you are, a deeper sense of yourself, and that these are just conditioned patterns, they're just habits you've gotten into, you can endure the discomfort of of making a transition out of one behavior and into another, because it won't have the same kind of staying power. Anytime we try to make a change in our behavior, there's going to be an inner resistance, because it's just got habituated, right?
Yes.
If I'm really attached to that, I won't want to make the change, right? Even if it's for the better.
Yes.
Even if I know it's for the better, right? But if I understand that it is just a habit I've gotten into, and just a little bit of patience and a little bit of reinforcement, and I'll get out of that, the body will very naturally begin to create new habits. It'll reorganize itself around this new version of yourself, right? When you realize that those habits in the nervous system are not you.
Yes. Oh, I love that one. And on that note, we will go to commercial break, and I will invite people to call into the show and ask your question. If you're trying to do something with food, like what we just said, maybe you're trying to give something up, how to turn it around. So we'll go to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to stay with you guys here on live stream, but for all the wonderful listeners at Home Times Radio, we will be back, and we'll offer the phone number then, and you guys can give a call in.
Yeah, you guys on the Enlightened World Network are not hearing the commercials.
Right. I'm glad you figured all this out.
But Lisa and I are. I've got the headphones way down, so we can still talk about it. Lisa, can you see the comments in StreamYard?
I cannot. Can you?
Oh, yeah, I am seeing it. Oh,
we have comments. Oh, you guys are awesome. Oh,
we actually have a question.
Oh, we do? Okay, great. Okay, I'll pop over on Facebook here.
So yeah, you may have to go on Facebook to take a look.
This is good though. I can see us. Thanks, you guys. This is really fun. Okay.
So yeah, all of our friends on the Enlightened World Network, we're not going to just sit here silently while we wait for the commercials to pass. I think we got about 90 seconds worth, right?
Yes.
We are going to sip on our tea and the like. So, yeah, we're really, Robert's boy is pumping the questions up. Very, very good, and very interesting ones too.
Oh, okay.
That we can.
Robert looks familiar. Is he part of? I've seen him before. Okay. Oh, Robert, I was going to ask that question. How did you know? I actually was going to ask about the physical body go without any real need for food. Okay, so don't answer that when we come back. Okay. That's fun. Oh, great. Yes, and let us know if you like this. Is this something that you would like to continuously tune in? We go live. We do this every Tuesday at the same time. It's always an hour. We always invite questions and call-ins, and this is a new thing for us. And I'm just writing away notes here, so that's why you get to look at the top of my head there.
That's right. And Lisa's got a show starting on the Enlightened World Living, which is another channel about health and wellness. This is the Light World Network is all about spirituality.
Yes.
But they have two other channels. They just launched the one for health and wellness that you're on, my resident nutritionist.
Yes, actually, we're having fun with recipes. We'll talk about that too. And yes, I've had two shows, Dating Your Diet, on Thursdays at 10 a.m. if you want to pop over on Enlightened World Network's other channel. And then you could join us there. And I just think this is beautiful, because I'm so realizing that, yes, self-realization, doing the self-inquiry is so valuable in this way. Now I actually have a way to do it.
That's right.
Go.
Yes.
All right. Oh, am I hearing it from me or you? The commercial.
You're hearing it from me. Oh, there it goes.
Okay, welcome back. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in.
We did it.
To the flow of enlightenment. We did it. I am going to give the number for all of those of you who would like to call in and be on air with us live. We'll have to figure out how we want to make sure we know that you're there. And the number, because I just had to write it out in my head while I was saying that, the number to call into the Home Times radio station is 202-570-7057. And we'd love to have you on air and ask some of these questions, because we all eat. That's the thing. We all eat. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and ask one of the questions that came through on the live stream right here, because I just said that. we do all eat, and it seems to be that we need to eat, but GP, do we need to eat? Like, do we actually need? The question here is from Robert, and I wanted to this exact one. Could our physical body go without any need for food? And if not, then how could we only choose the basic nutrients that the body needs?
Um,
You're doing
the body is food. Let's put it that way, right? We have to look at, for us, we're sitting down to, a big juicy steak if you're such inclined, or a tofu salad if you're in my class, right? And we see it in terms of this luxury, this flavor experience, and all of that, right? But from the body's point of view, it's just a constant interchange of energy. I mean, it's not just happening in the food. That's the big parts. I mean, at the electron level, at the atomic level, we are sharing stuff all the time. The body is a process. It's a function. It's not a thing. It's a flow, yes. Right? Yes. So that flow is a constant transformation of energy. And so the food is simply being transformed. And if you look the entire planet, everything does it. Everything eats in one form or another, and poops. I mean, that's part of it. Can I say it's kind of comes with the territory, right? So everything, that's what life is. It is a constant transformation of energy. And so if we see the food like that, you could, if you wanted to, remove all of the pleasurable experience of it and just eat the basic nutrition. I mean, that's what they do on space flights, right?
Yes.
If somebody's out there in space, they're not sitting down to to the cheese platter, right?
Oh, I'm never going to space.
What they have is only what they need for the body to be maintained. So you can do that. Yes, you could break it down to just whatever the most basic things are. If you're getting the high quality stuff, for instance, I make myself a green smoothie, which is like kale and collard and spinach and celery and cucumber, and I'll throw in some cilantro and lemon and broccoli, anything, right? Throw it in the blender until it's basically completely blended up. And then I will drink that, and 16 ounces of that or 20 ounces of that is like 5 salads, right? I mean, it's my beaker of that has probably got more nutritional value than the American in that beaker than the standard American diet has in a month.
Yes, and it's great for people who are lazy because they don't have to chew 20 salads.
Well, you couldn't possibly fit that much, when it's ground up, it's highly, highly concentrated. And, does it taste great? Well, not the best, right? I throw in some cayenne pepper and stuff and the like. It's not a flavor experience. It doesn't taste bad. I mean, it's good, but it's not for having the Epicurean event.
Yes.
It's to give the body what it needs, and it does. And I could feel the difference. I chug one of those things down, and it's like, yeah, my little cells are, yay,
a little Roomba dance.
Yeah.
GP, I love that you actually. It's funny. I came up with this term. A lot of people would talk about self-love, right? And I came up with cell love. So I want to do a little play on words with that, because you can literally feel the cells in your body dancing and being happy, because you're right. It's an exchange of energy. It's a process. It's a flow. You come alive. And so the nutrients become the most important things. That is what we're trying to do. We want, just like you said, it's a machine. Our bodies have a process. It's a machine. And depending on that quality of fuel, and it's not even just it's the right fuel, and it's the quality of the fuel that you're putting in to keep that going. So on the emotional level, one of my things that I want to really ask you here is, can we sit with a little bit more time on when you've decided? So I just want to read something here. When we decide that we need to make a change, we realize that the quality is not there, that we're eating only for the flavor experience, that in fact, that flavor experience is actually damaging us. Yeah. And as it damages us, see, for me, there are many foods that I hope you guys realize this, it literally depresses us. It
Mm-hmm.
brain fog, it blocks us further from being able to know who we are, and it masks us for sure, because now we're there are children who have, you know, ADD. Well, they have it mostly because of their diet as well, but they're now angry or they have outbursts, and this is going to separate us from so many other people, because nobody's going to want to be around you. You're like, oh, that person's grumpy, or they're this. So it's not only just ourselves and finding the path, it is getting along in society, coming up with valuable ideas on how to improve the world, connecting with animals and being nice and having, like, there's just so many reasons why we want to be healthy and get there. The one of the things is when you really, you know something's not good for you, you know you need to give it up. Do you have to want to give it up, or is just knowing that you need to give it up enough, GP?
That's a really great question. Before I answer that one, there's one other thing I just wanted to add to the whole thing about our happy cells.
Yes.
You know, the body is a food processing machine, right? You know, basically it's a carbon-based bipedal self-replicating food processor. That's what it is.
Sounds expensive.
It's like a Cuisinart, right? It digests and reproduces. So it goes on dates. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Got a caller. Thank you. You have to remember that it's a machine, but it's an organic machine. Each one of those cells is a living being, right? So yes, it knows what it wants, and it's happy when it gets it, and it knows what it doesn't want, and it's not happy when it gets that. So you know, this body's a walking zoo, right? You're talking about 100 trillion living beings, each having their own lifespan, their own needs, their own nutritional requirements, and the like. And this is simply the vehicle for us as consciousness to experience anything at all. So now you can train those cells to desire things, to get a particular chemical hit, even though it's not good for them. The body craves heroin. If you start giving it heroin, it will crave heroin, even though it's killing it. Okay? Yeah. So it can be tricked into desiring things that are completely inappropriate for it. The best way to, people know on this level that I need to change, right? But now you've got the body, so I'm going like, want to go this way, and the body's going this way.
This way, this way.
Yeah, and it will always win. Right. It's much more powerful than this little cognitive, you know, we think we're in charge up here. It's like, you know, totally silly. Right? What it takes is understanding. And that's a different thing. I've got to do this. Well, why? How? What are the consequences? What's going to happen? Why am I in this position? Right? If you really understand the whole momentum of what the body is doing and why it's in that pattern, you won't be surprised about the resistance you're going to get. Yes. You won't be surprised about the brain fog, about the confusion, about the motivation to change suddenly disappearing on you, because it will, right? Yes. If you understand, you recognize, yes, this is part of the deal. This is the natural resistance to change that is inherent in our entire nervous system. It's been trained to be this way. And of course, and you get trained to be that way, it'll, you know, like a dog can be mistrained, right? Yeah. And it'll just keep doing that until you retrain it. And in the process of retraining it, it's not going to immediately just jump to what you want it to do. It's going to, there's a process involved.
What are we doing now?
Exactly. There's a process of deprogramming and reprogramming. Yes. And if you understand that in depth, and it's always really good to have somebody, you know, a teacher, a guide, a guru, a nutritionist, someone who can remind you that this is what's supposed to be happening. It's not a problem.
Yes.
The thing I always recommend first, before trying to do anything, increase the nutrition you get.
Yes.
Before you try to change a behavior or try to get rid of a bad habit, getting rid of bad habits is really difficult if we're not replacing it with something.
Put a mattress to land on if you're going to jump off a building, right?
Don't try to change anything until you've increased your nutrition. Start doing one of those smoothies that I've done. You'll feel the difference, and if you consistently raise that level, suddenly your body's getting the nutrients it needs. It's less of a struggle to get rid of the stuff that's masquerading as nutrition.
All right, you know what we're going to do, GP?
Yeah.
We are going to create a signature self-inquiry smoothie, and we are going to put the recipe out.
All right.
And I'm so excited to I believe we have a caller, and I was Alexandra.
Alessandra.
Alexandra. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Alexandra, we would love to hear your question. You are on air with GP Walsh and myself, Lisa Berry, on the Flow of Enlightenment, and we're talking about emotional eating. So please, what is your question? And hello.
Hold on a second, Alessandra. You may have to turn up your mic on Lucy to be able to hear her.
Okay.
Not your mic. I'm sorry, your headphones.
Yes.
Which means you and I'll echo a bit, but that's okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Alessandra. Good to hear from you.
Beautiful.
Yes. Mm.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. What a great question.
That is a wow question.
I'm going to repeat it because I don't think the people on the Enlightened World Network can hear what's coming from Om Times. We still have some more technical things to try to work out to make this stuff work. The question was that she had actually understood, Alessandra had understood the process of self-inquiry, had come to that. And then what was experiencing, what was arising was guilt. And she also mentioned the word greed. And because she had heard me, heard Lisa and I discussing it on the previous show, which was about the goddess. And it's important to note what greed is in this context. Mm-hmm. And I'll address why both of those are there. And she was saying a low-grade depression was arising, right?
Leading towards emotional eating.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Of course, anything that can bring about some kind of at least temporary shift in the body that makes me feel better. We're going to gravitate towards that. I mean, it makes sense. What we want to do is just find that which will have a lasting effect and not just be temporary and have to be repeated over and over again. So when I use the word greed, I use it the way the Buddha used it. He was not referring necessarily to that, that unbridled avarice of the hedge fund manager or the CEO that, doesn't want to give anybody a minimum wage because that means they won't be able to, because that means they'll only be making $10 million an hour, right? That kind of greed is the extreme of it. When Buddha used the term, he was simply referring to any time we look to something outside of ourselves for fulfillment, that is greed in its most subtle form. So whenever I look to anywhere but within, for some kind of satisfaction or some kind of relief or some kind of self-definition, that's greed. And the reason it's one of the 7 deadly sins in Christianity and one of the 3 poisons in Buddhism is because it's a desire that can never be fulfilled. It's hellish, right? And so that sense of craving for something, and it can be very, very subtle or it can be very, very aggressive, is the sign you're reaching for something that will never, ever, ever satisfy you. Now, the depression is normal. That is that sense of being down, because when you start denying the body what it's used to getting, it's going to go through all sorts of emotional ups and downs about it. The transition to a healthier way isn't necessarily instantaneous. Well, it's never instantaneous. Don't even expect it to be. That only happens in Hollywood when they do the little, the collage in the movie, right? Compress 800 years of training down to 38 seconds. And so all sorts of emotional things can come to the surface. The real underlying causes, the real underlying energy that the emotional eating has been placating, like guilt. We don't want to feel guilt. And so we do something that gives us a temporary feeling or a temporary high. And then for a moment, it's been suppressed. You're not feeling it anymore. Mm. But then it comes back. And eventually you get so used to doing that the guilt is thoroughly suppressed. Okay? But you're going to have to come to it, because that's what really is underlying the whole process. You have to come to terms with that guilt. And the problem with emotional eating and all habitual habit patterns like that is they bring the attention away from the real issue. So people think my problem is I'm emotionally eating. No, your problem is guilt, not emotional eating. That was a temporary solution that was found to the problem. That was never the actual solution. But because you didn't have one, you just couldn't sit in this place of just being miserable. You had to do something to shift the atmosphere, and that's where it comes from. So when these feelings start coming up, guilt, shame, anger, rage, all these things that come up, they're simply feelings you were not allowed to feel. And don't worry if you're not going to go, blowing some building up. I mean, if you start feeling that anger and you just let yourself feel it, you're going to actually get access to parts of you that you didn't realize were there, that are beyond, way beyond anger, way beyond guilt. As a matter of fact, that's who you're really looking for. They're on the other side of that wall. So I hope that covers it for you, Alessandra. Mm. Wow. Mm. Mm. There you go. Right. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Alessandra. We're going to have to break for a commercial here. So I'm
Yes.
sorry to cut you off like that, but this is actually a real show. I have to follow some rules. So thank you, and I'll definitely get to that as soon as we come
Yes.
back.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Alexandra.
Alessandra.
Alessandra.
Okay, so I'll just
Wait.
restate her question for the
Yeah.
Enlightened World Network folks. She was. I didn't quite get the whole gist of it,
Well,
but
I kind of got, yes, because
yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
yeah. So what I was, I love that she said she went in a little bit of a different direction than what GP was stating, that as opposed to starting and incorporating get your nutrient base down. So she actually went to the opposite. She wanted to start fasting, but she couldn't even fast because her body was almost pretty much rejecting what she was getting heartburn, and she had a rash on her leg. She was extremely uncomfortable, and she was just looking to alleviate suffering, which is what we do. So she went into prayer to say, what can help me with this? And I need help. And so I believe that's where GP will come back in, and where, yeah, I'm not being funny. I am going to be funny, but I think it's like, instead of doing emotional eating, we need to do emotional feeling, and allow those feelings to come up. And they do come up as symptoms in our bodies, like rashes. That's what my body will do. It's angry. You get a rash.
Yes, it's extremely, the body's really smart.
Yes.
I mean, it's perfectly adapted to the environment, right? This is what we don't understand, that your environment and your body are one. It's not the body here and then the stuff that's going on around it. It is in a constant interaction with it.
Yes. A lot of people say, I don't know why I feel this way, and then this is my job. Well, what have you been eating? What is your environment like? What are you drinking? How your feelings are in direct relationship. And one of the part of the taglines to dating your diet is understanding the relationship you have with food. And I love that you said that. It's sorry, I'm gonna make another funny food joke, a fork in the road, ha ha. But when your body wants to go, here we go.
Here we go.
Oh, right. Thank you. I'm so glad that we're back here. We were just chatting away on commercial break there. We are so happy to have those questions come in. That was a wow question. And now we have a part 2 to the question. And GP, it feels like it's going in the direction of when we almost need to stop everything and eliminate food, even health, just fasting, eliminate, and go into prayer or self-realization or self-inquiry. That road that can we go that road as well? Is that healthy?
Well, of course. The body is incredibly brilliant. It is integrated completely into the environment in which you are. That's its whole job, is adapting to the environment, to being one with what's around it. That's all it does, is adapt. And the whole point of inquiry, it creates an inner environment that is free of conflict, free of self-hatred, free of all of those kinds of characteristics that the body responds to. And it naturally does, the response to the environment in terms of the food that it's given and the quality of the air, but also on a more energetic level too. The people that are around you, the quality of thinking, the quality of your sense of self. And there are times when, and they're very great times, when you reach a point where I've run out of moves. And when you really don't know what to do, that's genuine prayer, because it has surrender in it. Oftentimes we're praying and we're trying to make a deal. Right?
Come on, just fix me.
Come on, just fix this, and then I'll be really good. Right? Right? As if you've got anything to offer. God kind of holds all the chips, right? It's like, I'm sorry, exactly what do I need? I mean, what do I get out of this?
This is a one-sided deal.
It's a totally one-sided deal. But there is a point at which something inside of us just really does surrender, What's surrendered is our ego.
Mm.
Our surrendered is this sense of I'm going to do it. And when we surrender our ego, that sense of I'm making all this stuff happen, you're coming into right relationship with the body, because you don't make it do what it's doing. 99% of the functions of the body are completely outside of your control. All of the functions of the body are outside of your control, period. The only thing we can exercise a little bit of control over is breathing. Nothing
And
else.
we can mess things up. That's the biggest thing, is all the issues that people come to me for is because they've messed things up. They've interfered.
Right.
The ego has taken over so strongly,
Yes.
and culture, as you said. And I love that you said about the air that we breathe as well, because even we influence it. And I'm not picking on anybody, but we have these scented candles with garbage in them,
Yes.
and worse than garbage, we have harmful things, lead and air. Laundry detergents, cleaners and stuff like this really affects I'm just so specific about this because my little, I think I love the cats more than me, I make sure, because anything you put in the air, it drops on the floor and then they're walking on it and licking their paws. But it's usually, you're right, if we could just do the self-inquiry, so that, what is it we're doing when that's a big question. When we begin self-inquiry, we're not asking about food, are we? We're asking about who we are.
Yeah. Well, self-inquiry, all of the things we're talking about as remedies for this kind of emotional, these emotional attachments and the toxic environment and that sort of stuff, all arise from a deep misunderstanding of ourselves. Right? The reality is, the body is the world, is the universe. It's one big functioning thing. And you are consciousness. You are not the body. You've had lots of bodies. They've come and go. Even in this lifetime, you don't have to go to past lives, right? I'm working on body 10, number 10. I mean, all the cells just completely turn over. Every I don't know. Some it's, the inside of your stomach creates a new lining every 24 hours. Your pancreas is recreated every 3 days. I think the oldest cells in the body last 15 years. Right? So you're constantly being replenished. You're not in the same body you were in.
Yes.
Right?
GP,
So
you
who
being the
are
computer
you?
fella that you are, I heard it once explained, like our computer, it's running programs constantly. And even though we can't see, it's actually refreshing and following a program to make sure that, it's there again, like it's recreated. And I used to think, so if we have like a birthmark and we're told that we have a birthmark, and we keep looking at the birthmark on our bodies and our cells, we're telling ourselves to remake that birthmark, to create it again and again, because of that belief in it.
Yeah, that's actually the case.
It is. That's true.
Everything is being created in real time, just like the screen on the computer.
Yes.
Right. Or just the sound coming through. It's a bunch of sound waves. The computer screen is a perfect example of that, because it's just refreshing so fast we don't see it. We don't see it turning on and off, because it turns on and off 60 times a second, which is faster than the eye can detect. It has to get down to about 15 frames a second before we can actually begin to detect, the jerky motion, right? Like very old films, right? But it's like around 25 frames a minute, and it becomes completely invisible, which is why movies were like 30 frames a minute, and computers refresh at a rate of 60. So it is constantly producing what you're seeing. Even if you look, we're moving, but look around on the screen. Those of you who can, I know some of you are on the radio and you can't, but anything on the computer screen, it's just sitting there that looks like it's not moving, like it's a static picture. It's not. It is a picture being recreated, just the same picture recreated 60 times a second. It's a great analogy for our life. We are recreating every single second the same picture.
Yes.
And there's a habit energy behind that. So that when we decide we want to create a different picture for whatever reason, it's kind of grinding along. You have to take out the program that's creating that that picture, because there's something underneath that's generating it. And emotional eating is simply one of those programs. I mean, that really is all there is to it. I know when you're in the middle of it, any kind of habit that you're trying to change, it feels like it's earth shattering. This is the most difficult thing in the entire world. But it's not. It is actually nothing but a mindless, empty program running. And if you understand that, you can be really, really patient with yourself and compassionate while the system adjusts itself to the new direction that you want to take it in. But that requires conviction, requires a little bit of resolution, and for most people, help from the outside.
Yes. And GP, you know what? One of the things I've shared this before on our a show a while ago. I can't remember when. I was having a gallbladder attack, and all I wanted was to alleviate that suffering.
Yes.
And I was just starting to learn about how you do tapping. So how you do energy techniques through tapping. And it was magical for me because you walked, not me, but me, you were walking, on the recording of the process that you did there. It allowed me to I wasn't trying to make that deal. Okay, just take away the pain. I'll do whatever. I'll meditate. I'll tap. Like, just make it good. And you also in that particular meditation was something that I never have done before. I've always been trained to do a visualization of my body. Where does it hurt? Take it in, bring it in smaller, and shrink it. But you did completely the opposite. You actually said, forget your body, forget the symptoms, just allow flow. And it was a whole different experience. So I'm going to just do this anyways. If anybody would like to hear that meditation, I believe that's one of the ones we can gift away just on one of those little intro ones. So please let us know whether if you're on the live stream here, please put it in the comments and we can say hi to everybody who's watching. We've got some people from all over the world, and anybody listening, please, should we do email or
email us.
Are we accessing that email?
They can just put it into questions@gpwalsh.com. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Questions with an S at gpwalsh.com. And just say, yes, I'd like to have that audio. And your audios, GP, first of all, we love listening to your voice. And secondly, it's just such a different way. And whether you're a tapper or not, maybe you do EFT tapping, maybe you don't, but GP will teach you how to do that throughout the thing. And our final couple minutes that we have here, because we wrap up at 2 minutes. Before the hour, just on the, could you just share with us what would be a beautiful place to start with opening up and allowing patience and acceptance of where we are and to allow this new programming to take place on emotional eating?
Well, that's kind of the heart and soul of it. We get so desperate to change things that we put enormous pressure on ourselves, and it creates an inner conflict, and it's counterproductive, right? The body is in the shape that it's in. It has got these habits. They're there for a reason, and it's always has something to do with it's trying to protect you. It's not working against your the better life that you want. It believes it's protecting you. And so the first thing is to approach this with the sense of a compassionate allowing, right? You didn't choose to get into the position that you're in. It just happened because you didn't know any better. You didn't know you didn't know the right way, or you would have done it. I mean, it's really that simple, right? And of course you went in a direction, and and now there's some momentum behind it. So you simply first come back with the sense of a willingness to be present with what is happening inside of you. If the drive is I just got to change, I get rid of it, what you do is create an inner conflict. The nervous system detects this as a danger and actually digs in more because it's trying to defend itself. Yeah. The way to drop all of these habits is this kind of self-acceptance that simply allows yourself to feel what you're feeling. When you do that, it seems counterintuitive. People, well, if you allow it, it's just going to continue. So actually the opposite is true. If you allow it, you drop out of the conflict. The body senses you're not pushing on it. It feels that as a sense of safety, and it immediately begins to adapt to the new environment of safety. Mm. Whereas when you're trying to fix it, it detects that as danger. It's like you're trying to push me out of this behavior that's keeping us safe. It won't do it. So it starts with genuinely, I call it the yoga of allowing. It's just this inner posture of, it's okay. I'm okay right now. I'm not broken, and it's all right.
Yes. And for our wonderful listeners on Om Times, we thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next Tuesday at the same time, 1 p.m. Eastern. And thank you so much for tuning into this. And email us questions at gpwalsh.com should you have any. Thank you, listeners on Om Times Radio.
He had to cut us off. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. No, I heard it, but when I checked the watch, it was like 58. I thought we had a few more moments. It's okay.
We cut it close. It was too many things to watch. Thank you
so much. Yeah, we
had
too many things going on here.
Thank you. That's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Right. This is radio.
We
have luxury on the other side. Yeah. All right, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Bye. Okay, and we're back to live stream. Let me just pull over there so we can
why don't you check the comments?
There's a couple yes, I want to check the comments and say hello to everybody. And I saw quickly there that I was like, we've got 2 people in Portugal, one who lives there and one who's visiting. Who was that? Let me see here. We've got, is it Tony who's in Portugal? Hold on. I know Isabel is visiting.
Tony and Isabel. Yeah.
Tony and Isabel. Look at that fun.
Isabel's she's Portuguese, but she's not living there. Tony's Portuguese and does live there.
Yes. Hello, Tony. Oh, this is wonderful. I'm reading, accept, alien, and allow. That might be I don't know. I don't know.
Accept the aliens. Yeah. Or accept, align, and allow.
Align, maybe.
Not exactly sure what you meant by that, Isabel.
It might be that.
But accept and allow, and don't think of acceptance. Lauren, South Africa. Hi, Lauren, and you live in South Florida. Great. Don't think of acceptance as resignation. This is really important, right? It's not that the motivation to improve and change isn't real. That's equally real in us. Of course, we have this desire to grow and improve. The problem is if we latch onto that and see the resistance to it as being an enemy, we create a conflict between the two that can never be resolved. But if I accept the fact that, yes, my whole nervous system has been trained into believing that this change will not be good for me, and I can just be with that feeling of resistance, simultaneously recognizing that this desire is equally natural, you step into this third position that I call the peacemaker. You're no longer taking sides. And when you don't take sides, what happens? There's no danger anymore. The nervous system doesn't detect you as fighting it. It is now capable of reconciling with the energy that appears to be the opposite. It can then very gradually be brought to the point where it can look for itself to see if the environment is safe for this transition to take place. If it is, it goes, sure, no problem. And if it isn't, you might want to know that.
Yes. There's an education piece in that, and that's what I love. Is whenever I look at food, I always say, "Well, what's in it? Where is it?" When I was a little girl, I remember looking at a potato to see if I could look into it to see what vitamins were in it, and I just felt like I could figure this out. But it was really interesting because later on I felt, well, we can. Potatoes are known for vitamin C and potassium, and so knowing that, I think, okay, great. This potato could be healthy for me in this amount, but this potato chip over here, it's not just a potato. So there's this understanding to say, well, do I need this, high heat fat in me that's, you know, now a trans fat and gross, and do I and my knowing in my body, and what how will that serve me? Is it going to one thing I wanted to share throughout the show, if anybody watching here, and we've talked about energy, GP, you went all blurry on me, there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Is the so it doesn't matter what you eat, good, bad, or ugly, right? It doesn't matter. Our energy to digest it goes to 80% of your energy is now going to digesting a food. If it doesn't recognize it, or if it is foreign to it, or if it's great for you, 80% of your energy is going there. So I love that we're talking about how it's an energy exchange, and what to me, like, all I wanted to ask about brain neurotransmitters, because that's so important when I think about food and feeding and that energy. It's where's the brain going? And if you get brain fog, how can we if we're sitting right now, this is my final question, I'll do it on the live stream, GP, if we're
Okay.
if we're sitting there in brain fog and lostness, like, just, are we able to self inquire? Like,
Oh, of course.
we can, no matter
Yeah,
where we are, we can.
there's no such thing as an opportunity to not do self-inquiry.
Okay.
So it's really very simple, right? Who's aware of the brain fog?
Ooh.
There's something aware of the brain fog. See, we get this idea that in self-inquiry or spirituality, you're supposed to get into these special states, right?
Yes.
Right? Everything is clear, and I'm always happy, and that's not the case, right? Our emotions are gonna go up and down. Our things are gonna happen in our life. There's going to be reactions to it. The inquiry is into what is it that's aware of what's happening.
Okay.
We're not trying to control what's happening. We're not trying to make it different, right? That happens very naturally. We're trying to look at no matter what's going on, right? Right now, everybody's listening to us, right? And you're concentrating, right?
Yeah.
But there's something that's aware that we're talking. There's something cognizing this.
Yes.
And no matter what experience you have, be it just utterly wonderful and pleasant, like listening to us, right? or having, some horrible feeling in your body.
Right.
Isn't that awareness the same?
Yes.
And isn't that you?
Okay. I got what you're saying there. Okay. That took me, yes, I get, yeah. So if you're feeling good things, bad things, it's who is aware, and there's
Yes.
never a time where you go, oh, no, you're in a bad mood, you can't be aware.
No, you're aware of being of the bad mood.
Right.
And the more you are aware of it, the more power you get over it.
Yes.
Because as the sense of identity moves back into the awareness, the consciousness of what's happening, it has less concern about what is actually happening.
Okay.
And that's where you step into this place of equanimity, which gives you the power to actually make things better.
I absolutely love that. And you know what I'm going to do? Oh, good. Isabel's requesting that. So, GP, I just realized that there's probably other shows coming on too. So I was thinking, oh gosh, I don't want to be, something that was aware in me thinking, oh my gosh, we have other people. So we are so happy that we were able to do this for the first time. I'm so glad to meet everybody. And we've got, let me just take, she's got emailing a screenshot of that so I don't lose it. We'll send out some meditations. And I thank you so much. I just realized, GP, that people on this channel might not know me because I was on the other channel, and it just dawned on me later. Right. So I thank you so much for having me on this channel as well, because it's new for me. And I'll just do a friendly reminder to tune into GP's satsangs on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Here he live streams. And if you'd like to pop on over to Enlightened Living channel, so same station, just different channel, at 10 a.m. on Thursdays, that's Eastern, then you can tune into Dating Your Diet, Falling in Love with the Right Food with me. So we just love the flow of enlightenment here. Perhaps we shall continue this, but that'll be next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
And thank you, Isabel. Isabel says it's watching, and yes, it's awareness. I meant that before. It works the same way about our fears and to heal them. It works for everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Knowing yourself as that is the aware witness gives you the space for the most beautiful and natural solutions to all problems. It is the solution to all problem, because you're no longer identified with the problem. You're identified with the pure awareness, and that pure awareness is your true being. So, on that note, I'll say we love you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And,
See you soon somewhere.
Okay, somewhere. We'll be soon.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.